way to go.
I do my best to pray before every word. And so I can tell you what that means.
Please.
Well, we talked a little bit earlier about how language that's designed to impress produces self-consciousness, right? And then it produces a sense of internal disquiet and disunion. It also removes you from the situation, because if I'm talking to you and I become self-conscious, then I'm no longer attending to you, right?
Fair.
I fall inside. Okay, so you can feel your words. You can feel your way. It's like the best, there's a scene in The Lord of the Rings where Frodo is making his way across a swamp, a vast swamp and a dangerous one. If you fall in, you're done. There's a path under the water, but the water is murky. There's a pathway of stones. And as he's walking forward, he can feel the next stone under his feet. Well, that's what you do with your words, is you can feel which words put solid ground under your feet. And I mean, literally, you can feel it, because if you step wrong, if you use the wrong word, you can feel yourself sinking and coming apart. And so you can learn to attend to that so that you don't say anything that doesn't atone. Atone means at one, right? It means union. Your words have the capacity to unify you and everyone else as well, but you can start with you. And so, and there's a prayer in that, because you have to admit that you might get it wrong and that you'd be tempted to constantly to use your words as a display, let's say. You have to admit that, and then you have to open yourself up to the discovery of that firm ground, and then you have to humble yourself, so that's what you say. Now, and you do that in faith, and the faith is fairly straightforward as far as I'm concerned. The faith is, it's as simple as this. You're going to bet your life on your words, one way or another. And maybe with a particular sentence, you're only betting a few minutes of your life, but you're betting your life on your words all the time. Well, are you going to bet on truth or falsehood? That's the fundamental question. And the fundamental declaration of faith in the redeeming word is that there is no better pathway forward than the truth. And then you can decorate that to some degree with another realization, which is regardless of the evidence that makes itself immediately manifest. So let's say I say something and gets me in trouble. This has happened many times. Now, one possibility is that I got in trouble because I was prideful, let's say, in my language. Another possibility is it's going to cause a lot of trouble temporarily, but the medium to long-term consequence is going to be great.
That's what
Right, okay, so that's part of faith. So this is what happens in the story of Job. So Job falls victim to a bet that God lays with Satan. It's a vicious bet.
Yeah.
So Job is a good man, and God admits that, and Satan comes along and says something like what you said earlier, which is, well, he's only good because everything is easy for him.
Yeah.
And God says, I don't think so. Do your worst.
But you can't touch him.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so there's a limit. That's true. Okay, so Job basically loses everything, and he's suffering with some disfiguring illness in the ashes while his friends are telling him why he deserves it. And Job does a variety of things. One thing is his wife says,
curse
you
your
should
God.
Curse God and die. Right, that's all that you have left. And Job says, I'm maintaining faith. I'm maintaining faith in the ultimate goodness of the creator of being. And this is, it's a proclamation of faith. It's not a description of what would you say, a conclusion he derived from the evidence. It's not that. It's an insistence. His insistence, it's a noble insistence. In fact, it's the definition of noble insistence. His insistence is, I will do good no matter what. No matter what happens to me, I will do good. No matter what happens to me. It's absolute rejection of the idea of being a victim. It's like, no matter how much suffering comes my way, no matter how much undeserved suffering comes my way, undeserved and unjust, let's say, in spite of my innocence, I will not lose faith and I will do good. Now, the ultimate expression of that occurs in the crucifixion story, clearly. But Job is a step on the way there.
Can I pause you there to learn something from this?
Yeah.
Was it the fact of his faithfulness because he led with God's understanding and not his own? I mean, even his own people were saying, I don't get this. You obviously have done this. And he doesn't even...
To some degree, because, see, God makes himself manifest to Job. It's a very complex story, but God makes himself manifest to Job and reminds him that God was there when the foundations of the earth were laid and when Leviathan was defeated, and that Job is in no position to render judgment on God. And that's really the crucial issue, you see, because one of the things you do, if you construe yourself as a victim, you say the world is arrayed against you, and maybe you even go deeper and you say, well, there's so much suffering in the world that it must be a malevolent place. I could not possibly believe in a God that was good, who rules a world as steeped in sin and sorrow as this one. Well, the reminder that God sends Job in the book of Job is that you're not in a position to judge God.
It's a complex situation.
It far more than merely complex.
It's more than just you.
You're simply not in a position to become the judge of being itself. See, this is also what the snake offers Eve in the Garden of Eden.
NASA.
She offers Eve, the snake offers Eve the right to take to herself the full knowledge of value, the full knowledge of good and evil, to make herself the judge of all things.
Yep.
Well, you're not the judge of all things. See, one of the Columbine killers, for example, journaled somewhat extensively. I think his name was Dylan Klebold, if I remember correctly. And I'm identifying him only so we know which one it was. He literally said that he took to himself the right to be the judge of all being, God included, and that he found human beings wanting in a serious manner, and that it was therefore his right to wreak whatever havoc he saw fit. And he wrote things about what possessed him as a consequence of that conclusion that'll make your hair stand on end.
I like the word possess.
Well, yes. Yes. I mean, he wrote some of that well possessed. It's very disturbing, to say the least.